Bayek. It's me, Ian. And in today's video, I'm going to do a review of this. Bayek. Yes, we're back to music. Hi. From CD collection. Well, here it is. It is Talking Heads 77. Their debut album from 1977. And it's an album that, well, I think I've already mentioned it in my list of favourite albums. It's just such a wonderful album, means such a lot to me. What can I say about it? Well, I don't want to ramble on too long, but I just think this album means such a lot to me. The moment it was released, getting on with it, the excitement. It's just an amazing album. And it represents really the early American New Wave. We have in the New Wave in America groups like Talking Heads, the Ramones, Blondie, Television. All these groups were all in New York CBGBs, all really beginning their careers and making an impact. And of course, in England, at the same time, we had the punk groups, Pistols, Damned, all these, The Clash, all these were beginning at the similar sort of time. So when you were a fan of punk here in England, then, well, it was always interesting to listen to what was going on in America, because the impact of these in America really wasn't the same, I don't think, as in England, because they really came to punk a lot later in its full grandeur, which you would say was influenced with the grunge movement in the 90s. But punk new wave was always there. And of course, Talking Heads are very different kettle of fish if you want to look at it, how they evolved. I mean, some would describe them new wave punk at the beginning here. Some would even say it went into art rock, and all sort of connotations developed into world music almost, with some of the rhythms and what they were doing. So it's amazing how this group evolved and how they started off with such a great debut album. And in fact, the whole series of albums that they produced is absolutely fantastic. And I definitely will review more of them, because they're a group that I really love. And also, I did actually see them live as well, which again is such a thrill to think that I actually were able to see them in 1980 live. So it's just tremendous when I think about Talking Heads. Basically, this album was recorded in April 1977 and was released 16th of September 1977 on Sire Records. And it was produced by Tony Bongiovi. Now, that name sounds, familiar, doesn't it? And you know what? It was the cousin of John Bon Jovi. Ah, yes. So he was one of the main producers, as well as the band. The band also were involved in the production, and also Lance Quinn. Those were involved in the production. So at the beginning, the band was particularly involved as well. But as I say, he was the main producer. Before this, Lou Reed, which is interesting because the Velvet Underground is certainly a big influence on groups like this. as we know, and Lou Reed had taken a very personal interest as well in the band, which is interesting. And what I like about Talking Heads is that they were quite cautious in developing themselves as a group, going back even to 1975, 76. They were like getting together and forming. They hadn't of the full band were there, but they were already forming ideas of what they should be as a band, and they didn't just quickly jump in. They knew they had to be right to get the sound and what they wanted, and this was very important. This actually came 7 months after their debut single, which was "Love Goes to Building on Fire," which is a great song. It's not on this. It wasn't actually put on this debut album. On later editions of this album, sometimes you get it as one of the bonus tracks. But any best of album, you'll get "Love Goes to Building on Fire" definitely. The band lineup is, of course, David Byrne, who is the mastermind in many ways behind the songwriting, though some of the other members also do contribute in that area, but it's his lyrics, his performance, his vocals, which add so much, but so do the rest of the band as a unit. Then we've got Chris Frantz on drums. So we had David Byrne lead vocals and guitar. Then we had Jerry Harrison on guitar and keyboards as well, because we had a keyboard in there. And then on bass, Tina Weymouth. So that was the original lineup of the band. The album comes as 38 minutes, 37 seconds. And it's included, this shows you the critical acclaim that particularly now it's seen as, you may have heard of that book, 100 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. Nice title, but it's in there. It's also been in the top 500 Rolling Stone magazine albums of all time. It is that good. Though I think most critics would put Remain in Light as the definitive Talking Heads album, which I agree to some extent, though I have such a lot of affection for this. Well, of all their albums, but particularly this one, because it's the first one. It's a debut album, so you're bound to feel like that. I'll just give you an idea of the tracks on this. It starts off with, "Ooh, oh, love comes to town." And it's a great introduction, that brilliant. You know where you are when this song comes in. You're listening to something pretty special. The vocals, the rhythm, you're on to something here. Then we get New Feeling. Then we get Tentative Decisions, Happy Day, Who Is It, No Compassion, The Book I Read, Don't Worry About the Government, First Week, Last Week, Carefree. Then, of course, the single from this album, Psycho Colour, and obviously a classic song, which is just an amazing song. And then Pulled Up ends it. Now, all these are these wonderful lyrics of David Byrne, his sarcasm, his observations on life. He's like almost the outsider looking in. He gives different voices about the way he looks at the world, and he's funny, he's witty, he's intelligent. The lyrics there and the music just really hits you. It goes along, and I mean, what can you say? This man is a genius already. I mean, he hasn't. He's developing all the time. And those lyrics, they just hit you, and you get such a wonderful feeling listening to the music as well. You get the intellectual side of it, but then you get the actual physical. Great, when you're listening to the album, you just can't help but marvel at the group, the way they're playing, and this album is a must. It's a must for any collection that is serious about music. These are wonderful musicians, artists coming together to produce a wonderful work of art. And this is the album. This is the one. And now it gets a lot more critical acclaim, perhaps, than it did at the time. But this album really is something special. And for me personally, it means a lot. I think back to when I first heard it and how it's developed with me throughout the years. I bought it on release. I got it on vinyl, of course, because then I had a big, massive vinyl collection, which unfortunately I had to get rid of. You've fed up of hearing about that, but yeah, anyhow. But actually, just to show you something, I do have a small vinyl collection now. I don't really collect that much, but there's one album I had to still get back, and here it is. Oh yes, this is in my small collection of vinyl. Talking Heads 77. There they are. There's the back. Oh yeah. I just love this album. There's a lot more albums I'd love like this on vinyl, but again, they're very expensive, and well, you just have to go with how it is. But I've got a few vinyl ones, but here's a CD, and it's just fantastic. That's it, really. I don't want more I can say, but Talking Heads go as one of my all-time favourite groups, always will. And this album is a definite must. It's in my collection with all their albums. I've got all their albums, including the live ones as well, and some compilations. Talking Heads, all-time favourite group of mine. And that's it. That's my review. I could go on into longer depth, but I wish I could play the music now, but there we are. There's all this copyright stuff. But yeah, go and listen to it. Just go on YouTube even and listen to some of the tracks, and there, go out. Yes, it's wonderful. Timeless music from a timeless group who are just amazing. That's it. So, all I'm going to say is subscribe if you want to hear more, and you're going to get more music reviews as well. I'm not all films and collecting. Music does come into it, and if you like this video, give it a like. Just that's it, like it. It costs note, as we always say all the time. Note, and there you are. That is my review. So, there you are. All I've got to say is, I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.